And now for the Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impacts. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins. All right, welcome to another amazing episode of the Sutton Leadership Show. On today's show, we're going to be answering the question, what if the biggest threat to your business isn't your strategy, your product, or your competitors? What if it is a leadership culture gap that no one is talking about? To talk about that today, we have Amber Fields. Amber is the Chief Culture Officer at trueU, a fearless advocate for people first leadership. She helps businesses build intentional cultures where people thrive, leaders grow, and communities are transformed. And on top of that, she is a proud mom of 5. So welcome to the show, Amber.
Hey, Drew. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on the show. We got connected in the craziest way.
We did.
I was flying to Atlanta for a sales meeting. I had a bunch of company. I was, it was just like a week of meeting companies. And I sit next to this guy named Walter, and he and I just start chatting, which is strange in today's culture, by the way.
Yeah.
And we connect over culture management, culture leadership. I do a thing called culture systems. And I was like, oh man, this guy actually understands it. He and his wife are starting a new franchise. So we build this like 5-minute relationship where we're like, man, there was a lot of connection here. And then the stewardess asks to separate us. She's like, hey, can I move you guys over here? So like, we just like met and had this and then we left. And I was like, I mean, that seems like one of those moments that you need to chase that. And so that led us to Walter introduced me to Amber. And so Amber, I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, Drew. I love all things leadership, growth, development, culture. So I could talk about it all day.
Yeah. So this is, we're going to talk about how you got into here, but just to say, this is what I'm so excited about. I've had the opportunity to start 3 different organizations. There's a startup right out of college. Then I did research at Bell Helicopter. And then when I was at Lockheed, we started a brand new product line and they put me in charge of that. And so I built this brand new division. And I have always put people and culture first. And I think people, when they think about soft skills, they're referring, they say emotional intelligence, soft skills. They're talking about charm school. They're not talking about culture. So what is the difference between ping pong tables and culture?
Yeah. I think the difference, Drew, is that people have to really take a hard look at the foundation of their culture. What is their vision? What is their mission? What are their core values? And how are you communicating those out to your people? How are you holding them accountable to that? And then the next level of that is really about conflict and accountability and starting to deep dive into, are you actually holding your people accountable to the things that we say that we're going to do, to who we have decided that we're going to be? I think the hardest thing in culture is that people don't know how to have the hard conversations. They don't, when we go to hold people accountable for that, they start to go off the rails because, especially I'm in the Midwest, so I'm in Indiana. Hoosier hospitality, Hoosier nice is probably some of the things that you've heard. So for us, we work with a lot of companies in this region, and sometimes they just don't want to rock the boat, right? Don't tip over the apple cart, things like that. And we're of the mindset that conflict is good and that those hard conversations are good, because a lot of times some of the best innovation and culture growth comes from those hard conversations.
Yes. I just had a long conversation with a friend of mine out of New York. Now, New York is known for its conflict, right?
Yeah.
She works with executives that are a-holes, and she has kind of a whole spiel. But we got talking about it. She said, I'm not talking about jerks. I'm talking about people that have neurotic behaviors where they're avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
So they're saying, hey, I want to pull back from this. And she said, it's gotten so much worse since COVID. So people with AI, people are now just asking AI to respond. They don't want to engage humans. They're just letting AI do it for them. They're in meetings, and one of her clients is a portfolio manager for a large number of companies. Literally 1,000 companies are in his portfolio. And when he doesn't like somebody or there's a pushback, he just avoids them, goes for coffee, and then just ignores them for a month. And that is a very like that avoidance uh is kind of creeped into our society since COVID. So I love that you're into conflict.
Yeah.
Um, did you always know conflict was a part of culture, or was that like a later discovery?
No, it was a later discovery. I grew up in, well, I'll kind of rewind it back. I started I went to school to be a television news anchor.
Okay.
And yeah, yeah. So but I was there the day of 9/11, and it kind of changed the trajectory of my career. I decided that I was the first person in my family to go to college. I was paying for it myself, had a lot of pressure and a lot of stress to follow this path because this is what I had chosen. But I had met my husband, he had 2 kids, and so I made the choice to work in a different job, not follow that path, and raise my family. And come full circle, here I am using that gift and using that education. But throughout my experience in the workforce, in corporate America, conflict just looked really different. It was hard.
Mhm.
It was hard. People screaming at each other across conference tables, people avoiding each other, and then creating this massive drama inside of companies because they weren't willing to have the conversation and work it out. And so I get to trueU, the owner of the company. His name is Mike Lance. He is fabulous, just a wonderful human, very smart when it comes to entrepreneurship and starting businesses. And I had been with the company for 3 months, and we're on the phone. It's one of those moments, Drew, where you know exactly where you were sitting. You remember exactly what was happening. I'm sitting in my car in a Starbucks parking lot, and he says, "Where are we at with this thing?" I was like, "Oh, Mike, we're not there yet. We are a little bit behind the 8 ball." And he goes, "Okay, Amber, we have to have conflict." Drew, I was guns ablazing, like I was ready. I was like ready to go after it. And we were on the phone, so he couldn't even see my face anyway. But he was like, "Okay, hang on, Amber. Conflict is just a conversation."
Ooh.
I was like, "Right, you're right." He said, "Tell me what happened. Tell me what the barriers were that got us here. Tell me what you would have done differently to try to move the needle, and what you're going to do now to help us get there and set a new date." It was
Mm.
so easy, Drew. And that kind of set the tone for what culture was going to look like. And for us to be able to confidently teach that amongst our teams, not saying
Yeah.
we got it, but we try to do it better every day.
No, I love this. I think that we avoid conflict. I have kids. You have kids. You have 5 kids. We
Yeah.
can get to that here in a second. I
Yeah.
actually kind of want to. Um, over the last year and a half, my kids are teenagers, and
Yeah.
our family dynamic can devolve into just us staring at phones, looking up. Like we're all
For
sitting in
sure.
the room.
Yeah.
One person has turned on a show that nobody's watching, and we're all checking our feeds, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this massive disconnect that we have from each other. We're more connected than we've ever been, and yet we're less connected than we're in the same room,
Yeah.
completely disconnected.
Yeah.
Um, and then because of that, we're afraid of conflict. But conflict's fantastic if it's managed correctly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some tips? What are some quick tips as a leader to know that my culture is not is avoiding conflict? And then let's
Mhm.
do a couple of tips on how to like practically fix that.
Yeah. If you are having same conversations over and over, so people are not having conversations, the same issues keep bubbling up to the top, there's probably a culture issue. If people are going around one another and not going directly what we call to source, there's probably some trust issues there. I think the foundation to having really great conflict conversations are trust, rapport with your teams, and psychological safety.
Mm, yeah. What I did in my group, what I found was people were afraid that I was going to punish them for dissent. Like
Yeah.
we're engineers, so dissent is like I disagree with how you approach that analysis. Like it's not like we're not super catty. We're more like comparing each other's technical resumes all the time. And so I made this rule where I wasn't allowed to talk for 5 minutes in a meeting. So I would like just drop the question on the table. I'd be like, hey guys, we need to solve this problem.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk. This is what I need solved. Tell me what I'm doing wrong here.
Yeah.
And the first week, the first 2 weeks, the first week is for sure. This even the second week, those were some really weird meetings. People were like, nobody wanted to volunteer information. Finally, somebody would like throw like one of those really flat ideas out. They're like, you're like, and I would just like, thanks, guys. Anything
Yeah.
else? And it took me like a week and a half before the team realized, holy crap, Drew's turned over a new leaf. He wants our input, and we can push back with this other thing where I called it the table slap. So if somebody's just like regurgitating, going over the same thing that we've already talked about, you
Yeah.
can slowly move your hand down to the table, then slap the table, and that
Yeah.
means that conversation's over. And
Yeah.
anybody could do it. And I remember one meeting where I mean, he was like an entry level, been there for about a year guy, and I was chief engineer. So there's three distinct levels between the two of us.
Yeah.
And he table slapped me, and I was like, fair enough, on we
Okay.
go. And and that was like a watershed moment for the team where they realized the entry level guy can table slap Drew the boss, and
Mhm.
Drew is okay with it. There's no penalty. Like we're here
Yeah.
on the same team, and it absolutely changed the team.
Yeah, it's amazing. It just changes the game, guys. It changes the game. And we see all the time companies that are or people inside of companies that are conflict avoidant. We have an assessment that we take, that we give, and then we facilitate sessions about conflict. What type of conflict style do you have? And then figuring out how to meet people where they are inside of the type of conflict style that they have. It's very interesting, just to see how people handle conflict.
So when you come into an organization, we both are coaches. We both work with organizations. I can walk into an organization, and there's a couple of like things that I can just put my, first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes of sitting down with the new team. I'm like, I think I have a couple ideas of the underlying things here.
Yeah.
What are the most common things that you're seeing today?
Mhm.
Maybe over the last 2 years, we'll say within the last 2 years, that companies like this is kind of a common thing that companies are struggling with.
Yeah, the mid-level manager growth. So
Oh,
they're
yes,
your
yes.
mid I do several talks like this, and mid-level managers will make or break your culture. So the mid-level managers are part of that. I think the other thing is just the unknowing of what are the expectations of culture around here. Culture is that conversation of like you can't see it, but my goodness, can you feel it?
Mm,
It is, it's this invisible hand that kind of guides and does everything. And if you're not intentional about it, you'll have one created by accident, which oftentimes breeds a lot of negativity, not the things that the leadership had intended. So it's just something that you have to pay attention to all the time. But the leaders, we believe that the leaders are the visionaries of culture. HR teams build the foundation for culture, but those mid-level managers are the ones that are actually incubating, executing, and instilling those culture practices. And a lot of times there's a disconnect in communication of what the culture is and how we're supposed to be operating inside of that culture.
yes. Oh my goodness. This is why we're friends. This is why we're friends. What I say is that somebody's leading your culture. There's always somebody leading your culture.
Yep.
And if it's not you, you have a mutiny on your hands.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of times what'll happen is you'll have a company like this is like a small to medium sized business, especially a small business that has become a medium sized business.
Yeah.
um, it'll be the founder and then the founder's wife, or sometimes the HR leader, or sometimes, but there's generally somebody that's like very closely tied to the leader, and they
Yeah.
kind of have the heartbeat or the pulse of the organizations, people will say.
Yeah.
But it's all done kind of organically, and they're not super aware of the culture that they're creating, the consequences of the culture that they're creating,
Yeah.
or how to maintain it when they go from, they've been getting two people a year, five people a year,
Hmm.
but all of a sudden they start to scale, and they don't know how the magic that they've been doing.
Yeah.
So have you seen that happen with some of your clients, and how do you help them start applying culture at that scale moment when they're all of a sudden hiring 20 people at a time, 30 people at a time?
Yeah, it all starts in the foundation of your business. I think you and I had the conversation, the Peter Drucker phrase. I don't know if he's the
Oh,
original person that says this, but culture eats strategy for breakfast. And we are
yes.
like, no, it doesn't. Culture is the strategy. Culture is the thing that is going to attract great talent, to retain your great talent. And it's the conversation of the employees that you have. Why do you come to work every day? They have a choice. They can choose to come work for you, or they can go someplace else. And post COVID, culture means more now than it ever has. So it's important for this to not be accidental, for it to be intentional. And so I think it starts with making sure that you are interviewing for a culture fit. You need to
Ooh,
be,
I love that.
yes. Yes, so making sure that they are that they're good team players, that they have their own set of personal core values, that they know what those are, that they are, whatever those attributes are that you're looking for inside of an organization. For us, it's about servant leadership. It's about
Hmm.
innovation. We want to be the tip of the spear for all things HR, talent, culture, and people. How are you going to bring value to that and continue to elevate it? So it's really interviewing. Then it's setting the appropriate expectation. We have this really cool tool that we call a success profile. And so it helps people understand what their job is. It helps them know how to do it, the competencies required for that role, but then the KPIs. So what are you going to be measured on? So in a year from now, there's accountability to culture fit. There's an accountability to the
Yes.
things that you agreed to do when we said that we would pay you. And yeah, and then there's that continuous trajectory inside of performance reviews. How are you holding people accountable to culture and growth and development inside of their performance reviews? It's wild to me that a lot of companies do not use that. And you've got to be pushing back to culture every single opportunity that you can. It's got to be more than the writing on the wall, than things that we put on our website. Like, people need to know and feel and be reminded of why culture matters inside this organization, and the expectation for you to show up inside of that culture.
I love this. I have a couple methods that I used to do it, but what you're angling at here, I worked at a certain company. One of their key culture values was ethics, and I used to joke that we keep ethics on the wall because it's cheaper than putting it in our people. Like, so the idea that you're saying here, that the name of the game, you don't hire a consultant to go off and do a 2-day offsite in Tijuana somewhere. You write a mission statement, you do some values, you come back and you do a one all hands meeting, and then maybe 3 years from now, when you remember that people exist again, you do another all hands meeting. No, you have to. It's just like, you got to make sure that this is in the people.
Yeah.
So I
And
also love that you said that you need to do it in the performance reviews. We're already spending a huge amount of emotional capital and time
yes,
capital to do
yes,
these performance cycles every year.
yes,
Culture should be a major piece of that puzzle.
yeah.
What do you say to the people that feel a little bit uncomfortable and they say, well, I don't want to make everybody in my company the same? Like you're saying, everybody needs to have the same culture, but I don't want to make just like, I like diversity.
Hmm.
I want that creativity and that diversity in my company. How can I have diversity in culture,
Hmm.
and then also common culture?
Yeah, actually, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is every culture is different because your people are what make up your culture, and every person is different. And every person is coming in from a different experience, from a different knowledge base. Everybody's bringing in something different. We have what's called a culture community, and we are not trying to make these companies the exact same. That's not even possible. What we're trying to do is bring companies together who have a really great culture, who want to continue to elevate that culture and take ideas and best practices and help each other grow inside of this organization, because we share the same thoughts in that people make up our culture. People are our culture.
I love it. No, I love it. You hit the nail on the head there. Um,
Yeah.
so let's, because I'm kind of like deconstructing people's misunderstandings about what culture is. A lot of
Hmm.
people think cultures are pizza parties and ping pong tables, and oh, I
Yeah.
need to, have this snack bar out there or give them some free coffee. And
Yeah.
then, and this is Walter. So this is the guy that I met on the plane that introduced the
Yeah.
two of us. He was a CEO of a very successful company, and
Hmm.
he's a good dude, and he was like, I want to
Hmm.
be a good guy. So his first company, he put all of this energy into ping pong tables and pizza parties. Is what
Yeah.
kind of what we talk about in the culture world. And then the next company he went to, he didn't do that. And he said, what he was sold in the 2000s was, if you make good culture, you'll keep a better retention, and then people be more productive. So
Hmm.
he literally ran one company, pizza parties and ping pong tables, and one company, just metrics and profits. And he said he
Hmm.
didn't see any difference. And
Hmm.
then his wife found you all, and then he
Hmm.
started to understand what culture really was. So what is the difference between culture management and culture curation
Hmm.
and ping pong tables and pizza parties?
Drew, it's all of it. You have to do all of the things, right? It's people and profits, not
Yes.
profits over people or people over profits. It's both. You can have both. You can build team camaraderie inside of an organization with the pizza parties and bringing people together to have conversations and playing a quick game of ping pong. But you also have to set appropriate expectations for how we're going to behave, how we're going to celebrate each other, what reward system we have. It's everything. You have to do all of the things for your culture to be cohesive. It's not, you don't get to pick and choose pieces and parts of this, to make it work. It's all of it.
So I love that. As you look over your clients, tell me maybe one or two stories about how they celebrate each other and they celebrate their wins that has reinforced forced their culture.
Yeah, we have some incredible companies, Drew, that have really partnered with us because they know that they don't have all the answers and resources internally. They're really great companies
Mm.
focused on their people, focused on growth, focused on serving their clients really well. And there's one in particular. So we have gamified what we do at trueU. And that means that when you attend a culture learning session, when you put somebody through a leadership academy, when you come on as a client, whatever it looks like, you get points for everything. So there's a healthy dose of competition inside of our membership, and we have the top 10 companies. And the thing that is in common for those top 10 companies, Drew, is they are very loud and very proud of the fact that they invest in their people. That I
Yep.
don't have all the answers. We can do so much to serve our organization, but it's really important for our people inside of our organization to build community, to have outside counsel and outside conversations with other people to learn about how other people do business, to see what are best practices that you guys are doing that could help us, right? So we've got one company, it's our top spot. They are a great, thriving construction organization. They have
Okay.
the best people that work there. They have an incredible executive team. They have a wonderful HR staff that is really committed to investing in their people, because this takes work, Drew. Like, you
Yes.
can't just, hey guys, we're going to jump into the trueU community. We're going to do this thing and hope and pray that they show up and opt in. No, it's a continuous conversation. And I love this story because they've been with us I think they're going into their 4th year. And their HR leader, when we said yes, he was like, listen, the CEO said, or one of their executive leaders said, I want trueU to be heard walking down the halls of this company. If this is going to work, this is the litmus test that
Yes.
this is working. And 3 years later, they stood on our stage, won the top spot. They get money, they get to pour back into the community. We give them, all kinds of fun things. And the HR manager went out on leave to have his first baby. And the baby was ill and was in the hospital. He's doing great today, which we're really grateful for. But he
Yeah.
stepped out of the culture champion role, took care of his family, and all of the participation in trueU was still happening. People were still coming to events. People were still showing up for leadership programs. People were still engaged, wanting to learn on their own, because Scott did such an incredible job of making sure he set the foundation and the expectation of how trueU operates within their organization. And he came back and said, this feels really awesome, because I didn't even know that we were doing what we call watch parties. I didn't even know that they were doing these on their own. It feels so good that they feel freedom enough to go do this on their own, and I don't have to facilitate it. Like, because you set the trajectory, Scott. So that was just one of many stories that we're really excited about, because people get it. And here's the other thing, Drew, not everybody is going to participate. It's not 100% all across the board. Not
Yep.
everybody is vested in becoming the best version of themselves, right? And that's okay,
Yeah.
right? We meet people where we are. But for those of you that do, come on, let's go. We've got a lot in store for those people.
Yeah. So walk me through, maybe with a story or two, walk me through the transition that people experience when they work for you. So if I'm a mid-sized company, and real quick, you work with mid-sized companies, right? So that's
All size companies.
all size companies. So you
Mhm.
work with small companies, you work with
Mhm.
family offices, you work with like
Large.
small, medium, large
Mhm.
manufacturers. That's all. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So just tell me, if you pull a client kind of from your head, change the names to protect the guilty here.
That's right.
Um, um, but walk me through what it was like for them before trueU. So here they are, they can't take a vacation as the boss. They
Yeah.
are getting bad data. Nothing, all the skeletons are just like stacking up in the closets. They
Yeah.
work with you, and then the transition afterwards. Walk me through a before and after of what it's like when you implement trueU in your organization.
Yeah. So it looks like the HR teams and the executive leaderships are having to get really involved in every situation. The leaders do not feel confident or empowered to be able to handle these situations on their own, or they're just too busy. They're overwhelmed, they're overworked, and they're like, go talk to HR. And for us, we come in and we're coaching, these leaders on how do I handle this conflict, this accountability on your own without having to bring in those leaders, because you have what it takes. When they engage with us, they're learning about how to handle mental health and wellness in the workplace. We're
Mm,
teaching them these soft skills that a lot of times they're not getting, especially for the young people coming out of college. They don't have the experience in the business workplace to really know how to handle these types of situations. And so we hammer in, we teach them. Or somebody, one of our stories is that they put 5 or 6 leaders through almost every single one of our leadership academy programs. And we had one guy, I love him. He is so incredible. He went in super resistant. He was like, I've been leading for 20 years. I don't need this leadership stuff. And we were like, I mean, we're working with it's a construction company. And so we're working with the HR teams and the executive leadership. And we're like, listen, go through this, set the example for other people in our company. And, I'm sure you'll probably get something out of it. So we asked him in his capstone, when you went in, where were you on a scale of 1 to 10? And he said, I was a very inauthentic 10. I thought I had it all together. I thought
mm,
I was doing all the right things. And Drew, with tears in his eyes, he said, now I am an authentic 10. I feel like I have been in the way for so many years. I did not know that I could remove myself and allow for them to do things on their own. I can empower them to figure things out, and I feel free. I feel free to do my job, what I'm here to do, not so overworked, not so overwhelmed, because I have the ability to empower my team to make decisions on their own and not be like a fix it Frank.
yes.
So it was an incredible story. We were all so moved and so grateful that we continue to do this work, because that's it. Making an impact on one person's life who, oh, by the way, there's a ripple effect, because he'll go back, instill these same types of concepts in his team, and then it just infiltrates the organization. And we've seen that time and time again with this organization who continues to put people through our programs. And the other part of it, Drew, is when you put multiple people through, they're speaking the same language,
Hmm.
they're moving in the same direction. And so it just continues to elevate the company because more people are on the same program. They're on the same trajectory. And it's so amazing to watch.
Oh, I can't. And this, I mean, if I have one message for leaders that are watching the show right now, it's nobody, zero people walk into work today and are trying to be grumpy. They're hoping that they irritate somebody. They're hoping that they don't do a good work. Everybody comes to work like a 2-year-old that just wants to build a stack of blocks and be proud of it and show it off to his mom. Like we
That's
all
right.
want to do good work and be rewarded and recognized for our work.
That's
And we
right.
all want to be challenged and we all want to, we want to struggle and make something meaningful. Everybody shows up to work. And
Yeah.
then the systems that we have unintentionally put in place as leaders um, is what forces people into these weird contortions. And so having somebody on the outside that can help nudge you. I remember making the progress myself from frontline worker who did really well, so he got promoted and he got promoted. And
Yeah.
I remember this one moment I had 40 people directly reporting to me, which means I had 40 problems a day that
Every
somebody
day.
had to solve. Right. So and you can't manage that in a day.
No.
And so the skeletons and the work and the stress was piling up and the stress was piling up. And I had this epiphany, a mentor of mine, which is what trueU is,
Yeah.
came to me and they're like, why are you solving their problems? And I was like, well, because I can't, because I don't trust them, because they can't do it. But and they're like, that's the culture that you set up, man. And that
Yeah.
was like my moment where I was like, oh, culture is not ping pong parties and pizza tables. Ping pong parties and pizza tables? I think I was right.
Yeah.
Um, it's you need to learn to empower them. And it completely changed who I was. It completely revolutionized my team. And all of a sudden, there are moments in my day where I don't have something to do. And those allowed me to plan for the future and to start, winning or building those relationships with the customers or making
Yeah.
those plans or checking out that technology. Um, Man, it literally changes your world when you work with somebody like trueU. I think
Yeah.
it's
It
fantastic.
does. And it's fun. The other part of that, Drew, is I love that companies have internal leadership academies and leadership programs and things that they're investing in. But what they don't have is that outside counsel. They don't have that community piece to hear things differently. You have kids, it's like parenting. You plant
Yep.
a seed with them. They come to one of our events or attend one of our leadership academy sessions and they hear it again, and that seed is harvested. And they're like, oh,
Yes.
that's a great idea. The leader's like, man, I've been telling you that for months.
I literally,
No, it doesn't matter. Praise that you got it and you're going to move forward with it now.
I literally tell this people because I speak as one of the, you and I both speak. That's one of the things that we do. And I tell people, I have the one thing that you don't have, which is a briefcase. I'm not you. I'm going to come in. I'm this stranger. I'm going to say the exact same words that you said, like a little bit differently. But I'm going to be able to help your team transition from this is where they are and this is where you want them to be. And I'll help them make that little bridge. And I'm going to turn them back to you after an hour and a half, maybe a full day seminar.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have that opportunity because Uncle Drew came in as opposed to Dad Drew, right? Like you talk
Yeah.
about kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a parent, the kid can't hear it from you. They have to hear it from their coach. They have to hear it from
That's right.
that outside. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
powerful. And it's such a,
Yeah.
it takes a really self-aware, humble leader to
Mm-hmm.
recognize, hey, I need to bring in somebody outside. I can do this, but my team needs somebody like trueU to come in to help them make that transition because it
Yeah.
feels false. I think if the boss says you need to take these leadership modules,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel the incentive structure being wrong there. You can feel it kind of being forced or fake.
Yeah.
Whereas when trueU comes in and you see the boss getting coaching and you see the boss implementing these systems into the HR performance reviews, you're like, oh,
Oh,
she really is going to do this. The boss
yeah.
is really into this. And then you have the
Yeah.
opportunity to make the shift.
Yeah, for sure. And the other part of it, Drew, is we teach people that you don't want to microwave them. You want to crock pot them. So you can't just
Mm,
put them in a leadership program for 3 months and hope that everything, that everything clicks and that everything. It's why we offer quarterly sessions. It's why we offer monthly, shorter, snippets of conversations and things that will help you be a better leader. Because we want them to be on a continuous learning trajectory. We never have all the answers. We are never fully baked. We are never done. And so we want to offer that in those different snippets in those different ways so that everybody can continue to evolve in whatever way, that works for them.
yeah, no, and I love this because if, as a leader, let's say I have a manufacturing company or a service company, I'm in the business of cutting grass, of making widgets, of
Yeah.
running IT lines. That's my business. That's what I'm in the business of doing.
Yeah.
Um, and so the fact that I am not spending 40 hours, 50 hours a week learning about culture, learning about leadership, learning about soft skills, that's fine because I have
Yeah.
a partner. I have a partner that, in the coaching world, we have is saying you can't see the label from inside the bottle. Like
Yeah.
your job, you live inside the bottle and you can't figure out what's going on. But those of us, get an outside input, and it's so obvious
Yeah.
when you have an outside. Well,
That's
I'll tell
right.
you what, we're running into time here.
Okay.
I want to talk about who you serve, who your ideal client is,
Yeah.
and the moments, like kind of the trigger moments that I, as a leader, am experiencing that
Yeah.
signal, hey, I should be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, and then I'm going to turn the show over to you, kind of for the end segment.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, we talked about how many, like, what's the size of the company? Drew, we work with people who have people. We work with businesses who have people of any size, of any. It doesn't matter. We are helping to build out talent and culture strategy. A lot of businesses have a business plan and a finance plan, but they really don't know how to attract
Mhm.
the type of talent that they want. Nevertheless, they also don't know how to develop them, and then they don't know how to retain them. So we're building out programming and we're helping them build out HR infrastructure that allows for the appropriate, branding, the conversations. Who does the outside world see us to be? Does our inside organizations, speak highly of us to attract really great talent on the outside? Does it match? Does the inside match the outside? Right. So just
Right.
helping, build really great HR infrastructure so that people want to be a destination workplace where they have people that want to work there and don't want to leave. That's essentially what we're doing. And then we have the culture community. It's our differentiator because we can build out all these amazing HR things. We can take that pressure off of the HR team. We're coaching employee relations issues. I always laugh about this because we're the HR team that will come in and have those hard conversations with your managers so that they are empowered to do the work on their own and they're not continuing to come back to the higher ups, that are better at this than me. Maybe not, right?
Yeah.
But we develop leaders. We truly help. Our why is to help people become the best versions of themselves so that they could live their very best lives and do their very best work. That is what we do. We do it all across the country. There is no place where we cannot work as it relates to the United States and of any size company, because every company has people who desire to grow and learn and lead. And every company wants to keep that really great talent. And we're here to help them do that.
I love it. Amber's team is amazing. This is trueU. I'm just going to really quick, these are great ways to reach out to her. We have trueU.com, just the
Yeah,
word true and then
simple.
the letter U.com.
Yeah.
You can find them on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/company/trueU. And of course, Amber, you can find her on LinkedIn as well. She'd love to have a chat with you there. If you're in the HR and you are looking at your company and you're saying, we are not a huge corporate company that we're not just trying to put a band-aid or a sticker or to do the minimum required to move the stock market. We care about our people.
Yeah.
And we have this moment where our leadership has allowed us to provide solutions that will really move the culture forward. We realize that we're more connected than we've ever been, and yet we're more disconnected. And we want to find ways to let people thrive in our organization.
Yeah.
Amber and her team are an amazing asset for you. They come right alongside your HR team, your performance review team, and they can turn maybe the most irritating, emotionally draining part of the year into some of the most powerful profit driving parts of the year.
Yeah.
So if you are that mid-sized company, if you are looking to scale, or if you're at that moment where you're pulling in a whole bunch of new employees and you need to make sure that they fit so that onboarding process is not only smooth, but is the fuel that's taking you to the next level, Amber Fields and trueU are your team. So reach out to Amber, tell her you saw her on the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. And with that, we are out.